I was a complete and utter noob. I had never even really talked to a lawyer before. I didn't quite understand how expensive they can be. I have so much frustration at myself, but I'm trying to be compassionate, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a learning experience. In private practice, I feel like it's so easy to feel alone when it comes to the ups and downs and the growing pains of learning to build a business or grow a business as a therapist. At least in my experience, I feel like not many people really talk about their struggles or how they've made mistakes in running their business. Today, I wanted to share with you the biggest mistakes I feel like I made in 2024 in running my private practice and growing my business, so that you don't have to feel so alone in trying to figure out this whole business thing as a therapist. And hopefully you can learn from my mistakes, or at least feel less shame about the mistakes you make. I'll also be sharing the lessons that I'm taking from each of these mistakes, so hopefully I can grow and not keep making the same mistake over and over again, but I can't make any promises about that. Sometimes learning takes time and change takes time, so definitely wanting to learn self-compassion here. I'm Dr. Annie, and I am a licensed psychologist and a traveling therapist, and I've been running my private practice since 2021. Feel really passionate about helping other people who are wanting to grow their private practices or also wanting to become digital nomad therapists. And so if you're new here and that's you, then definitely hit like and subscribe. I would love to share with you all the wisdom and things that I'm learning along the way. And if you're not new here, welcome back. So glad that you're here. Mistake number one is this year I really wanted to grow my business. I have a therapy practice, and I had the general sense that I wanted to grow into something more. Maybe have a group practice, maybe start a second business. And the trap that I fell into was trying to grow too fast and trying to do too much all at once. A part of me wanting to grow, I knew I wanted to rebrand my business. I felt like my therapy business that I started in 2021 just felt too limited for where I wanted to go. I wanted to get on social media. I wanted to grow beyond one-to-one therapy or grow beyond just doing therapy. I also really understand the value of having a really good brand and a beautiful website. And I had done my website on my own when I first started, and I thought it was a decent website. But since I was trying to go to the next level, I knew it would probably be a good idea to invest in full branding rather than me kind of DIYing it. And so I started with that. And then I was like, okay, well, I really want to get into social media. And I've tried to do social media on my own, but with my ADHD brain and my anxiety, it just made it hard to really follow through. But then I got a social media manager, but then I also was trying to grow my email list. And then I also was like, oh, well, I want to have a group practice. So I got coaching on how to build a group practice. And with that, I was also talking and utilizing services from lawyers just to review my paperwork, come up with some contracts. All of that together within the same year just became quite expensive, and it's something that I think was a mistake on my end. What it felt like is I knew where I wanted to go, but I wasn't quite sure how to get there. And so I was kind of just clinging on to all of the things that I felt like could help me get there. But at the end of the day, I think it ended up just having me be just kind of disorganized and spread too thin. But then also making it kind of more financially stressful because I was paying for these services close together. So I think that ended up just making the process just so much more stressful than it needed to be. The lesson I'm taking into 2025 is that I want to have a budget so that I can see what I realistically can afford, while also doing things like like saving and hitting some of the other financial goals that I want in my personal life and my business life. Because I think when you have a lot of business expenses all at once, like other things are sacrificed. And so I felt like some of the other things that also are meaningful to me got sacrificed. Definitely going to have a budget this year to make sure that whatever I'm like service I'm purchasing or whatever thing I'm buying doesn't put me in an uncomfortable position where I have to sacrifice other things. And just really wanting to go slow and take things one at a time. Mistake number 2 kind of goes along with the first one, but is falling into marketing traps when it comes to things like courses, digital products. Now, I definitely think that there are courses out there that are really helpful and have a lot of value, and that there are digital products that are really helpful and provide a lot of value. I think the mistake that I fell into this year that I really regret is falling into the marketing trap of when a business kind of puts a time-limited deal on a product, like a course or a digital product or whatever, and feeling pressured to make that purchase so that I don't lose out on whatever deal that they're offering. Why this is a mistake to me, and is a mistake that I've made several years in a row. This is definitely not the first year that I have done this, so this is why I'm like, I knew better, is that I think when it comes to growing or it comes to learning something, I think when a company or a business is marketing to you, I just think it's really easy to oversell what they're really offering, and it feels like you really want to get somewhere, but you're not sure how to get there. It can be very easy to feel susceptible to like feeling like someone has knowledge that you don't know, or they kind of have the secret to whatever it is that you're wanting. Like oftentimes these business owners are people who are like, oh, like I've done this before, I can help you. And so it can be easy to feel like they're going to offer you a solution to your problem. And while I have definitely purchased courses or products that have really helped, I have also purchased products that I think I definitely fell into the trap of thinking, okay, like this is going to be the game changer and helping me get to where I need to go. But in reality, I already knew what I needed to do, and whatever product or service they're offering me doesn't really solve my problem. And so I think really what I'm taking away from that lesson is that if there is a course or there is a product that I'm thinking about purchasing or is being presented to me, I really want to take some extra time to really sit with myself and think, am I purchasing this course because I think that they're gonna offer me something that will magically make something easier? Because oftentimes it doesn't make it easier. And also be really realistic with myself in terms of, is this something that would actually help me as a person? Like, does it fit what I know about myself? Like, for example, trying to get into social media, I bought this package from this creator, helps people in social media. And it was essentially to help you organize your content calendar, I guess is the right way to say it. I purchased this thinking, okay, this is what's gonna actually help me be consistent with social media. I know myself. I am not going to use a Notion calendar. Like that is just, I don't have whatever internal motivation it takes to be organized on Notion. Like I just know that about myself. And so I think I purchased that bundle in hopes that I could change in a way that this person who was marketing this bundle said that it would help me change, like it would help me get somewhere. But if I really sat down and thought to myself, I would know that I'm like, okay, I usually don't use Notion when it comes to organizing myself. Like that's not usually what helps me. And so I think if I was able to be realistic, I probably could have avoided buying that bundle. And the other thing is just really feeling like if a product is worth buying, I don't need to buy it within the 12-hour or 24-hour time limit that is being offered to me. Because I think it's just really hard to think critically about something if you feel this pressure. Honestly, it's something that I don't really like about the business world, is these kind of tactics that are used to get people to purchase. I can understand why it's used, but at the end of the day, I think for me, I've just kind of I feel a little bit jaded about that, because I think I've fallen into that trap of like the time limited, like, oh, we're only open, you know, I'll give you this like really great discount if you purchase within 12 hours of this like free webinar or something. I just feel jaded because I've fallen into that too many times and then been very disappointed once I was in the course. Like, I think I realized that it wasn't the best decision for me. And so moving forward, I really just want to, if a course is worth it, I'm going to just purchase it at full price if need be. Because I really hate that feeling of feeling tricked into something and then getting onto the other side of the curtain and being like, why am I here? I think I bought a $1,000 course and then didn't even finish it. And that is something I've really, like, I'm like, ugh. Like, I feel so much shame about that I bought that course. But I'm really trying to just move forward with the idea that, okay, like, this is a learning experience. Now I know I have another piece of data that confirms that courses usually don't work for me. And if it's like I feel pressured under time to buy something, it probably isn't going to be the best decision. Okay, mistake number 3 is not following my gut. So with this one, like I said, I have really wanted to grow on YouTube for a few years now. I think YouTube was something that really helped me for several years, like wanting to grow a business. Like, I really loved private practice skills. Also, just personally, like watching YouTubers and have really helped me get through some really difficult times in my life. Also really loving like travel vloggers, and that's what introduced me into the world of digital nomading, which obviously drastically changed my life because now I'm a digital nomad. But I have just known in my heart that I've wanted to start YouTube for a long time. But I think because as a business owner, there is this kind of pressure to succeed, and I already had my therapy practice and I felt pretty confident and good about that. Like, I'd been running it for a couple years at this point. So the idea of wanting to grow into a new territory and like learn a new skill and do something new felt really scary and vulnerable. I think I felt like it would be safer to pursue the path of like growing a group practice, like that being the next level, is like growing a group practice and hiring clinicians. Even though I knew that was something that I don't think I quite wanted to do, like a part of me wanting to grow was me wanting to get out of feeling dependent on people reaching out to sign up for therapy. And obviously, as a group practice owner, that would probably be my main role, is marketing and finding ways to get people through the door to sign up for therapy. But I felt this like pressure of like, okay, well, that's the smarter decision. Like, I already have this practice. This practice is already generating revenue. And so I'd be kind of just doing some of the same things, and kind of growing YouTube is something that takes longer, is something I feel much scared, like it feels so much scarier to me. I made the decision to get business coaching, and in getting business coaching, I ended up deciding to focus on running a group practice rather than focusing on growing an audience with YouTube. I really regret that, because then when I signed up for a social media manager, I signed up with the social media manager to help me grow my private practice rather than helping me grow an audience for my digital nomad therapist content, I guess. Anyway, so I think I had wasted like 3 months of coaching. Like, I think by the end of it, we started to talk about YouTube, but I think I just felt like I wasted time and money. And I think with like Instagram, I've invested 6 months into growing Everbee Therapy, my Instagram page, rather than going towards marketing to therapists who might also want to be digital nomad therapists. And now at the end of the day, here I am back to what really feels, what I feel called and motivated to do, which is growing an audience of therapists. And so I think I could be 6 months further along in my journey if I had just trusted my gut and followed what really felt what I was passionate about rather than like what was the smart decision. So my takeaway is to not do things just because they seem like the right decision or the good decision. And I think it does kind of feel hard because obviously as a business owner, this is my livelihood. And so I know there is just some realistic, practical pressure of doing, playing it safe at times. But I think also I got into my private practice because that's what felt right to me. And I obviously was able to succeed in that and really just wanting to move forward and trusting my gut of what like feels right to me. And I think honestly, that feels more enlivening to me than doing the right thing or doing the thing that's safe. Okay, mistake number 4 is hiring a lawyer without really knowing what happens when you hire a lawyer. So this past year, I decided to hire a lawyer because from the beginning of me starting my practice, I never hired a lawyer to review my contracts, to review my informed consents, to kind of just look over my paperwork. I think now that I'm a digital nomad, I felt a little bit more insecure about kind of the legalities of things, and so wanted to feel kind of more secure that my paperwork was good, that things were said in the right language, stuff like that. And I went with the first lawyer that I had talked to, and mainly because I think I liked I liked talking to him and he felt really knowledgeable, but I didn't do research into how to hire a lawyer, things to think about, things to consider when it comes to their pricing structure. Like I was a complete and utter noob. I had never even really talked to a lawyer before, besides like, you know, in my personal life, but like professionally, like I've never talked to a lawyer. I've only talked to maybe people who I know are lawyers in my social life, like, but I'm not talking to them as a lawyer or hiring them as a lawyer. I didn't quite understand how expensive they can be. I have so much frustration at myself, but you know, I'm trying to be compassionate and I'm like, okay, well, this is a learning experience. The thing I didn't realize is that some law firms and some lawyers will charge you for everything they do. So the moment they read an email from you, the moment they start drafting an email to you, they are on the clock. And with this lawyer, they started, as soon as they looked at your case or as soon as they started writing an email to you, that automatically counted for a quarter of an hour. Did it take them a quarter of an hour to send that email? Doesn't matter. They still bill it as a quarter of an hour. That adds up quickly. I also, you know, there's a lot of things that lawyers can do for you. And so I was like, oh, like, you know, that would be convenient for them to file my foreign entity LLC in DC for me without realizing, oh, that's actually, you know, adds up and is quite expensive for them to do something that I could have done for myself. Like, I think I was just so naive as to how expensive it would be and just how quickly it adds up. And then the other thing with that is that, so I was talking to him, which he was kind of like a higher up lawyer, and his hourly rate was like $750, something like that. Outrageous for an hour. Like it's just really wild to me how much lawyers charge. Like people freak out about therapists charging $250, and then you have lawyers over there charging $750 an hour. Anyways, but he told me that I would be working with his associate who charged like $350 an hour. So that was more reasonable. But the problem I fell into is that the associate was doing most of the work. So that was kind of more of a reasonable hourly rate. But the thing I didn't realize, because when he said that I would be working with the associate, I figured that's what the hours would be billed at. What I didn't realize is that he must have still been training the associate, or the associate must have still been under supervision, because everything that associate did was reviewed by the lawyer that charges $750. And so he wasn't putting in most of the hours, but still for that associate's, 2.5 hours was one of his hours. And so him reviewing all of his work just added up so quickly. It was definitely a learning experience of recognizing that it's important to have lawyers check over things. It's important to be consulting with lawyers, but to be much more strategic about it in terms of making sure I understand what I'm going to be charged for and who am I going to have to be paying, like whose eyes are going to be on the things that you're doing. Like even like the secretary or the assistant, whenever she would email me, that was charged. Obviously she was charged at a much lower rate, but still, like it just really added up to being thousands of dollars that I think at some point it felt like I was too far in to go back. But then I ended up working with a second law firm where it was much more clear cut. Like at the beginning, they were like, okay, you want this done. This should take about less than 10 hours or maybe like 5 hours. I don't think they charged me for sending emails, but I was charged for this lawyer whose rate, she was an associate, so her rate was like $350 again. But I was only working with her, and I was charged for her creating the contract that I was paying them to help me with. And like, I think we had an hour-long conversation. That was much of a better experience because they had really communicated to me how much time I could expect. I also made sure to only have them do what I couldn't do, understanding what they were going to be charging me for. So the fact that like I knew that they weren't going to be charging me for emails, things like that. And I think that was a much more positive experience than the other one where it was just kind of this open-ended thing and fees just added up so quickly. And I didn't have an understanding of how much time it was going to take, what I was going to be billed for, things like that. And so moving forward, if I ever decide to work with a lawyer again, or if you're someone who's considering working with a lawyer, definitely understand at the outset how much time they expect to be billed for this, understand what they actually charge for, understand who you are going to be paying to do the work. So if you're talking to a lawyer who charges $750, make it very clear that if they are saying you're going to be working with an associate, that you want to make sure that you're only being billed for that associate rather than also being billed at the $750 hour if they're reviewing their details. So just like really get clear on what you're going to be charged for, but then also just do your research and shop around. Like I really shouldn't have probably gone with the first lawyer I talked to. If you want to avoid the mistake that I made, definitely do those things. Okay, well, those are all of the mistakes or at least the biggest mistakes that I made in 2024. And hopefully in 2025, I'm able to learn from those. But if you made any mistakes that you also want to share or lessons that you're taking into 2025, definitely comment them below. I would love to hear kind of what your learning journey is. And maybe you can help someone else as well who's also watching this video. But yeah, just remember that it's okay to make mistakes. Honestly, you are a first-time business owner, like you're learning. People literally go to school to get degrees on how to run a business. Just know that there's a lot of space for you to have growing pains. Okay, well, hopefully you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.